This program is for business leaders who want to create an intentional culture of empowerment, feedback, and safety. Stay to the end for bonus points on how to create all three and my recommended program about setting your company vision. To make this as relevant as possible, let's start with the default vulture culture that exists in most companies, including yours, unless you're intentional about creating its opposite or lucky enough to work for leaders who have. So what's vulture culture? It's what the name suggests, a savage and self-interested culture with vultures circling overhead, or picking the meat off the bones of the last day employees who minded their own business and refused to participate in all the backbiting and politics. I'm both sad and proud to say I've been one of those carcasses. A couple of decades ago, I worked for a printing company with a vulture culture. In fact, I would say a raging vulture culture. It wasn't until years later and a short time before I get laid off of that position that I learned my first supervisor, Bob, had been sabotaging my reputation almost since day one. Needless to say, I felt rather betrayed to find out the guy who was supposed to be helping me succeed was actually striving for my failure from the day I arrived. So why did he do this? That was because he was legendary. When I arrived, he was already legendary for his laziness or lack of work ethic. And I've always had a strong work ethic. The contrast of my hard work and striving to do a good job in the new position would reflect poorly against his lack of productivity and motivation. It's pretty hard to explain to your boss when your junior is doing more work of equal or better quality in the first year that they started, that was me at that time, with decades more experience behind you. So that's an example of vulture culture, a specific real life example. Essentially, vulture culture is made up of self-interest, individual agendas with no alignment whatsoever to company goals and a whole lot of internal politics. Does this sound familiar to you? If you're an employee, you have my sympathy if you are in that kind of a culture. If you're the leader, you have my scorn unless you're doing something to change it. Vulture culture is what happens if you, the leader, do nothing to change, shape, maintain, or create something new. Great leaders make others feel safe, confident, and capable so they can become better versions of themselves. I've never had a single leader with all the traits of a great leader, but I've had at least three, each which had one of these traits. Jesse made me feel safe and assured he'd help me until I learned what he wanted me to do before setting me free to sort of work on my own. Unfortunately, I wasn't safe, or in that situation, it wasn't safe for me to give him honest feedback. I was safe to make mistakes, but I wasn't safe to disagree, even with legitimate cause. When I asked Terry, another manager at a different company I had worked for about 2 decades before, how do you expect me to sell TVs when I can't turn them on? He responded with action. By the next day, he had power outlets in our department. So in other words, he accepted my feedback and immediately empowered our department, both literally and figuratively, to demonstrate and sell more TVs. Years later, Yukia gave me freedom or autonomy. She said, I trust you. Teach classes any way you want, as long as the students are learning effectively and staying engaged. That freedom motivated me to create and grow the program from the moment I arrived until years later by a factor of about 5. A lot of it had to do with me choosing to do an equal or greater amount of work unpaid because I was given that freedom and trust and autonomy to do that. So I had I had my own personal investment, which made me didn't want to do extra work, but I was willing to do it because I had that trust extended to me. Unfortunately, when I objected to one lazy student's lack of effort that was holding back the progress of a less intelligent but far more conscientious student, I decided we needed to part ways when she put profit over purpose and my teaching ethics. Unless your leadership or you as a leader take action, support, and unify your employees towards a common purpose, empower them to grow in their role, feel psychologically safe to make mistakes, and give honest feedback, you're creating vulture culture by default. It's perfectly illustrated in Finding Nemo when Marlin and Nemo kind of said together, we have to tell everyone to swim down together. And this was to escape the fisherman's net when there were all the sardines and Nemo was being pulled up into the boat. The only difference is that you have to inspire and, when necessary, tell everybody to swim in the same direction or become somebody else's dinner. So thank you for staying with me this far. We're to the bonus points, and the bonus points are about creating empowerment, feedback, and psychological safety. So empower your employees to do the best job they can by giving them proper training and the necessary tools to do their job. Like electricity, when you're trying to sell electronics, start by receiving feedback in the way you want others to. So you show by example what receiving feedback looks like in a constructive way. It's up to you to show them how to do that. Then you can give them the same solution-focused, actionable feedback in exactly the same way you want to receive it from them. So you first show what it's like to receive feedback, because that's normally the role delegated to somebody of lower rank, and it shouldn't be. You show them that you likewise can receive that feedback and in the way that you would want them to receive it. And then you flip the script and you give them feedback, actionable, solution-focused. It's not about them, it's about solving the problem. Finally, create psychological safety by how you behave when giving and receiving that feedback. That is, if you take either of those roles and behave poorly, that will cause a problem, which leads to the final point, and that is, if they don't feel safe to give it, that is, to give honest feedback, or when they're receiving it, if they feel attacked when they are receiving feedback, they won't do it. That is, they won't give feedback well, and they won't receive feedback well. And you condemn yourself to much more of a vulture culture where everybody's too busy covering their ass to help each other and the company succeed. So creating a positive, intentional workplace culture takes practice, and it's better, honestly, to practice that outside of the workplace, outside of your real business. It's just one of the many benefits of a mastermind with its own intentional culture and practices based on science and insights from geniuses like Daniel Kahneman, Ray Dalio, Jim Collins, Bob Sutton, Adam Grant, and others. So click the link in the description to join my $397 per month mastermind group, free for 3 months from the first time you visit. From then on, the price goes up continuously until it reaches full price. I will not compromise on that. If you don't act on the $0 price, too bad. You're probably not the right person to be in the group. And click here or in the description to learn how to get everyone swimming in the same direction by setting your company vision. This has been Crush It Club 304, Vulture Culture, how not to create a dysfunctional default culture at work. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.